private stock, barrel picks, whiskey. What makes these so special? What makes them different? Tonight on Savor the Burn, we're going to find out. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Savor the Burn. My name is Jonathan. This is W2. How do you do?
Doing good. Doing really good.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to trying this out tonight real quick. But before we get into that, thank you for following along. Definitely hit subscribe. Share this with other people that might be interested in something like a barrel pick or a store pick of anything of that nature. Private select.
Private stock.
You know, we'll get into what all these things mean. Pretty much the same thing, but we'll get into all that stuff means. But yeah, thank you everybody that's showing interest in our Patreon and our t-shirts.
That's right, t-shirts.
We got our t-shirts in. They look good. You can find those at savortheburn.com. All you got to do is go on there, savortheburn.com, click the drop-down menu, click shop, or just type in savortheburn.com/shop, and it'll take you right there. But yeah, just scroll down where our shirts are right there at the top.
We got 4 different colors.
4 different colors. Now, what are they?
They are charred cask, smoky peat, rye, and full proof. We got full proof, and you have the charred cask.
The charred cask, yeah, and the rye, I believe I have at home. That's the green one.
That is a green one. That's a good looking shirt.
It is a good looking shirt, especially when it's on me. So tonight, we're going over this Rieger. It's called a Shout to Stout, 108 proof. It's it was finished in Manhattan Brewing Company stout casks. What else can you tell us about it, Mr. W2?
Well, before we get into the specific bottle,
okay,
I went out to Rieger's website and I wanted to learn a little bit more about the private stock offering, and so I pulled this information. J. Rieger and Company was the largest mail-order whiskey house in the United States prior to the onset of federal prohibition in 1920.
Very cool.
I thought that was incredibly interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Pre-prohibition, they were mail-order whiskey.
I'm guessing across state lines or federally approved routes, but like, I don't know. Maybe mail order means you've got a store, you got a business in, fucking Tallahassee, and, J. Rieger and Co. here in KC can hook you up with a case or 3 cases of, and they mail it to you, they ship it to you on a truck.
I just thought
Or are they talking about a bottle or a couple bottles?
To me, I read that and I instantly thought the old school Sears and Roebuck catalog and mail order kind of, you flip through the catalog and, I want one of those kind of a things.
My experience was a little bit different. Remember the bra and underwear ads?
Oh, my.
Lord have mercy.
But, I that intrigued me and that jumped out to me just because today everyone throws a hissy about what's in what are the contents of that box.
Right.
And if you don't say barbecue sauce, then,
And then in real small print, flavored whiskey.
Anyway, we are proud to be back as Kansas City, Missouri's first distillery in nearly a century. This is our story of family legacy, Kansas City history, and the booze that ties it together. Rieger's private stock. In 2015, we began distilling Rieger's whiskey for the first time since Prohibition. As our barrels come of age, we are proud to offer the opportunity to secure your own private stock barrel of Rieger's rye or Rieger's bourbon. Here's the part that gets interesting. Current availability is either the straight bourbon whiskey, approximately aged 6 years, or the straight rye whiskey, aged approximately 6 years. The investment for said barrel, starting at $12,500 plus sales tax.
Starting at.
The yield on that is approximately 210 750 milliliter bottles at 5 years old and 100 proof. Age and proof both impact yield. And the proof selected by you. So you get to select where that proof needs to fall. And obviously, depending on the proof, you're either going to have a few less bottles or you're going to have a couple extra bottles.
Yeah.
So that said, this offering is a Total Wine store pick that was actually picked by, if anyone's following along and you hear us talk about the Kansas City Whiskey Guild, Tanner Austin is not only involved with the barrel picks for the guild, but he also works at Total Wine, and he happened to be responsible for the barrel picks for Total Wine and the recent KC Whiskey Guild pick, which we already got into in a previous episode.
We did.
I was talking to him earlier today, and he to get a little bit more information about that, and he told me that he actually the same day there were 6 different barrels that he ended up picking. There was the KC Whiskey Guild pick.
Oh wow!
There was 2 for the Overland Park Total Wine. 2 more are at the Lee Summit Total Wine, and then the last one is up at the Liberty.
So you get
Total
different
Wine.
barrel picks from different stores.
They all have different names too. I mean,
At
it's
12,
a little bit of everything. So,
at a minimum of $12,000 a barrel.
So apparently he had the opportunity to pick 6 barrels.
That's really cool.
That's extremely cool. This one is called the Shout to Stout. It is a KC whiskey finished in Manhattan Brewing Company Stout beer barrel.
So dark.
Tanner was telling me that the Stout to Shout is a standard J. Rieger distilled whiskey, and he's pretty sure it's closer to the 4-year mark, which is okay.
Absolutely.
Finished in Manhattan Brewing Stout barrels. So just for a point of reference, not to anything about this bottle specifically, but because this is or started out being the same distillate as the Kansas City style whiskey. So I got to think about this now. Their Kansas City whiskey is a blend of their straight bourbon, straight rye, and their light corn whiskey.
Light corn.
And then blended with that 2% Oloroso sherry. So this started out as their Kansas City whiskey, but then it was finished in the Manhattan Brewing Company stout barrels.
Which I've never been. Have you?
I have not.
Oh, I thought, with you being a beer man, you may have been there.
I have not been there.
Have you had their wares, their beers?
Offhand, I don't remember.
Okay.
Chances are I have. I'd have to look on the app and see.
Right. They could go by many names.
Yeah. To give us a point of reference, because this was the flagship product, the Kansas City style whiskey, I pulled the tasting notes on that. And that one, the KC whiskey, the original KC whiskey comes in at 92 proof. And at 92 proof, it's a brilliant orange. On the nose, it's sherry and rich, sweet caramel, butterscotch aromas are followed by a corn whiskey backbone. The palate, sweet corn, whiskey flavors are followed up with a touch of sweetness from the sherry, featuring dried fruits, almonds, and bitter chocolate. I agree with all that from what I remember. And then the finish is robust and spicy. So with this being finished in a stout barrel, I have to believe that has a lot to do with the color of this.
Yeah.
This is also bottled up at 108 proof. So this is a little hotter than the original.
So, but actually you probably had the original, the OG J. Rieger whiskey, KC whiskey.
There we go. Pop.
We already know what to expect from the original. We've had it, like I said, several times. We know kind of what to expect, but with it being in these stout beer casks for how long did it say? A year?
It did not say. No.
It didn't say?
No, did not have any information on how long this rested in the stout barrels.
It's not perfect.
But if
good enough for me.
If this started out as a 4-year aged KC style whiskey, there's a lot of color on that. So 6 months a year.
There's already a lot of color on them to begin with, whether they've
Right.
been aged in the casks or
This
not.
is definitely a lot darker than the original offering. The original offering is a little bit more of a bright orange kind of a color,
Yeah,
which I think is
it's like a deep amber.
yeah. And this is
Gotta be leggy.
yep. Oh yeah.
She wants to stretch her legs. I mean, on the nose, it smells hoppy.
Ooh.
It smells almost chocolatey.
Yep. Yeah. There's chocolate.
I'm trying to
some
figure out what the
citrus.
sugar is, whether the sweet is like. I mean, there's vanilla-ish in there, like you said, citrus. I'd say that's straight.
Yeah, I'm getting orange. Yep.
And but I don't know.
I think
is
it's
it
just-
caramel or burnt sugar.
I was just gonna say just burnt sugar,
Caught some of that proof in my nose.
a little bit of brown sugar, maybe.
Yeah, who's to say it's not a combo of both?
I'm a big stout fan, so I'm really really excited about
Stouts are about the only
everything.
kind of beers that I can actually drink, so I've come to appreciate them. And like maybe dark ales and stouts, like that arrogant bastard ale. I can drink that because, well, I am one. And there's a
That's a pretty hoppy beer.
yeah, it's pretty tasty too. The sixth glass.
Yep,
I forgot who
from
makes
Boulevard.
it. From Boulevard, they make it. I can do that one too.
That is I think that's a triple. That's a triple.
I don't speak the language of beer.
It's a Belgian triple.
Belgian. Oh, and another beer, that Dragon's Milk.
Yep. Well,
The,
that's a stout.
It's so good.
Specifically because they make two different. They make more
They
than
do.
two. They have a whole line of variations, but they're the main offerings.
Yeah.
There is the regular Dragon's Milk, and
Yeah.
then there's the barrel aged Dragon's Milk.
I've never had the barrel aged Dragon's Milk.
That's what you need to get into because it's aged in bourbon barrels
Well, I've had the Boulevard
and it's
beer,
stupid
whatever
good.
it was,
Stupid
aged
good.
in bourbon barrels, and that was.
You know what?
super
Next
good.
time I'm gonna pick some up because
Yeah?
I'm a big fan of Mother's Milk.
Dragon's Milk, not Mother's Milk. Sorry, Carl, we're not coming after your Miller Lite, sir. Sex in a canoe. Fucking close to
Fuck, let's
water.
get this on the palate.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh wow, that's good.
Really grabs the tongue and layers on. Wow.
I'm changing my sweetness to
Wow.
more of a molasses.
Yeah, that went straight molasses. And honey.
Molasses, maybe a touch of maple.
Maple is in there. Yeah, that is something.
There's chocolate all over this.
Yeah, I expected some of the stout influences, and we're getting them. The softer influences.
Yep.
I mean, if you're familiar with stout, you know how it can be like super bitter, super thick. It's like drinking a liquid steak.
Boy, howdy.
But once you get past that, it's got a lot to offer.
Yeah.
You know, just like a lot of these whiskeys that we've tried on here. I mean, you can do it by the shot, which I don't suggest. I mean, you'll never get to know your whiskey.
No.
You'll never get to know what you're drinking. But I mean, if that's all you want it for, Carlo, then that's fine. Nothing's for everybody. However, that said, stout beer has a lot to offer as far as flavors and depth, and it lent it right to the whiskey.
I think the orange citrus is actually more reminiscent of a clementine, one of those little halo oranges.
Yeah,
Those,
when they're good, they're great. But
Those what are those
seems
called?
like Smarties.
Smarties.
Yeah, not the candy, but the tiny oranges.
yes.
Mineola Tangelos,
Yep. Mandarin oranges.
Mandarin oranges.
That's what I was looking for.
I think they're related. I don't know if they're the same, but they're definitely related. Kind of like you people in West Virginia.
Maybe a little bit of peach.
Kidding. Don't come at me, please. There's so much going on here. It'd take a week to extrapolate these tastes.
I think there's a little bit of baking spice on there. A subtle cinnamon, nutmeg.
The finish is long, and it's a little more dry than the palate,
Yeah.
but it's still sweet.
It's a slow taper.
Yeah, it's dragon's milk sweet.
It has a Kansas City hug.
It's got the KC hug.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first, folks. Right here. Savor the
Kentucky's
burn.
not the only one with a hug.
Spread the burn and the hug. Do you hug and then burn? Hopefully you don't need penicillin afterwards. Bum, 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 bum. What do you think of this bottle?
I like the bottle.
You look at this label. It's embossed. It's textured. It's got a lot going on.
It's got the gold ink on there. It's kind of like a copper. Not I said gold, but metallic.
And it'll be fairly indicative of the original release.
It's got the shield.
Yep, right down there in the punt.
Yeah, it's same shape.
Same shape glass for sure.
With the perforated outline on there. It has this label placed over there, which is the store pick information. And this one they actually named a Stout to Shout.
Yep. A Stout to shout at the devil. For all you Motley Crue fans out there. So it is close to the original. I looked through savortheburn.com/liquor cabinet.
We have not reviewed the original.
Reviewed the original.
We need to do that.
How weird is that? Yeah. We've reviewed the...
We've jumped right on to all the other things.
all the other things except for the originals. So
we got the Bottle and Bond bourbon. We've got the Niggerly collection.
Yeah.
Which was so fantastic.
It really was.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Not to mention it was great to have the Casey Kid over that entire week.
Yeah, and he really added to those episodes. Nobody
Celebrated Juneteenth.
Celebrate Juneteenth. Yep, nobody can do it like the KC Kid. That's what she said.
Oh yeah, and about those numbers.
Definitely a lot to offer on this. The nose was full of good stuff. The palate was full of good stuff. Different stuff. And the finish was the culmination of both, I think, on a long kind of tapering Kansas City hug.
And real quick, if you're following along and you're enjoying it, whether this is just kind of background noise to help you get through the day, or or if you're pouring yourself up a drink and you've got this up on the TV, following us on YouTube, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it.
And click that little bell notification so you'll be fully aware every time that we drop an episode. We drop them fairly often, at least 2 a week. If you have had a barrel pick, or if you have had a whiskey that has been aged in beer barrels, leave us a comment in the comments somehow, wherever you are, whether it be on any of our socials or on YouTube or in Spotify. Let us know what it was, and hopefully maybe we can be able to find it so we can try it too.
Here is an interesting little insight into the private stock label.
All right.
It says in 1919, with the prohibition looming, J. Rieger and Company owned a massive stock of booze that would soon be illegal to sell. Jacob Rieger's son, Alexander, appealed that he had the legal right to transport every bottle in their inventory to his private residence. In 1920, federal judge Ferris issued an order allowing Alexander to take home his private stock. This bottle of private stock honors the defiant effort of Alexander Rieger.
That's wow. Right. Never let a good whiskey
How badass is that?
Yeah.
But he did it the legal way.
Balls of steel.
He got a court order granting him permission to load those up into a truck and drive them straight to his house.
Yep, as long as it's for personal consumption and maybe a case for me, I'll go ahead and pass this. Rubber stamp the shit out of it. Man, can you imagine? Like if all liquor went illegal, I, I would die.
But think about that. We read that back then, pre-prohibition, J. Rieger, Kansas City's, the original Kansas City distillery, was the, does it say country or the world's? Was the largest mail order whiskey house in the United States. So when they say massive,
that's pretty damn massive.
I bet they had quite a few barrels.
And anybody else on the federal state of appeals on that judge panel that liked whiskey, that wasn't a prude with their head shoved up their politics, I'm sure that they also got a case of
I'm sure.
Rieger's.
I'm sure.
Private stock, of course.
Because it's only illegal to sell them, so
Right.
Yeah, you
Right.
can gift those to whoever you wanted to all day long.
That's just like any kind of home distillate that we could come up with here in, well, I don't know how it is here on Kansas side, but back home in Missouri side, I mean, you could have a couple 100 gallons per person in your household over the age of 21, and it's free to use. Personal, and you can give it, but I don't think you can barter or sell it.
Right. This is a 52 ounce, the 52 gallon
Tiny
barrel.
barrels.
Even with a great thirst for whiskey, one barrel would take quite a while to get through.
Yeah. Especially if you're savoring that burn.
Savor it. What'd you give it on the nose?
On the nose, I gave it a 4 1/4. How about you?
I gave it a 4.
Gave it a 4. Wow.
I almost said girl same, but I looked over to double check myself, and I was off. That's all right.
With the amount of things that was on the nose on this,
I should have given it.
It was
a little
an
bit more.
easy 4,
Yeah.
but for me, because it had the beer in there, also it was a little bit more.
I
We
agree
hardly
with that.
ever find we had hardly ever find chocolate on the nose, and as well as the palate.
There's a lot of chocolate on this one.
It's just wild. I mean, it tasted like one of the Dragon's Milk milk stout to me, as far as what kind of stout it would be. So I'm interested in trying the Manhattan Brewing Company's stouts and seeing what they taste like, just as is. But that brings me to the palate, and on the palate, I also gave it a 4 1/4.
I gave it a palate of 4 1/4.
Excellent. So we matched up
right
on
there.
that one.
Yep.
How about the finish?
Finish, I gave it a 4 1/4.
My finish, I gave it a 4 1/2.
Okay.
So I tooled my math.
Math.
Stupid math.
Stupid whiskey.
God. Bottle presentation. We talked a little bit about it. I dig it.
I gave it 4 even.
A 4 even?
Yep.
All right. Well, I would have given it. I would have given the original label a 4 even. This one here has that extra little bit. It's got the private stock label.
Yep.
It's got the toe tag on here. It's got the extra bit on the back about its history on that specific label, and which adds to the whole thing, because I mean, so much of American history is wrapped up in whiskey. When we started this podcast, I had no idea.
It is, yep.
I mean, what we have found out, and what Daniel from Wizard Academy, what's his YouTube channel? Daniel used to be with Whiskey Tribe. Now he's got his own thing.
I love his segments. I mean, it's great. He calls it, nerding out or whatever, but I mean, it's all interesting stuff. He does deep dives into a lot of the history of the various aspects of the whiskey industry.
Right, and we're talking about Daniel Whittington from the ex Whiskey Tribe. I'm still trying to find out his YouTube channel name, but he's the vice chancellor of Wizard Academy and Whiskey Marketing School down in Tejas. That's Texas for all you non-Texans.
Hey, our cereal grains finally showed up.
I was hoping it would. Whiskey Vault.
There it is, Whiskey Vault.
I can't believe it's Whiskey Vault. But whatever. because they had always talked about the vault, the whiskey vault. I mean, I thought that was just their collection of whiskeys and bourbons that they've collected. Yeah, we haven't gotten to second. Ooh, wow, interesting is that? We haven't gotten to the second nose yet because we're still working on a bottle presentation. What did you give for bottle presentation?
4 even.
4 even. That's right. Because I said I was going to, and then I realized my math was wrong. So, yeah, the original for me, the original would have had 4 even, but this one here was different. It had some cool information on the front or on the back of it. It's got the Total Wine toe tag on here because it's a select barrel.
And if you remember, the other week when we did the Nigger League, I think we were like 3 in, and I had a holy shit moment when I realized that the bottom of it has the embossed shield on there. And that one I gave a 4 1/4, and I think the 4th one I gave a 4 1/4. But I've settled myself back down.
Right.
I mean, it's not that the wow factor has gone away. I've just been like, okay.
All right.
There's no box. Right. There's no bag.
Right. There's no box. There's no bag.
There is a toe tag.
That collection came in a box.
That was cool.
This one here, it didn't come in a bag. It didn't come in a box. It just came as is off the shelf. And
all that said, this is their private stock label, which store pick or not, it carries with it a little bit more prestige. When you go down to the distillery and you bottle your own, that is part of their private stock program. You're just happen to get bottling your own from the barrel that they have selected for that. So it's
this
part of the
here,
same private stock.
You pick the barrel and then they bottle it up for you. You can choose the proof if you want.
Yeah.
And I think they did that with this other one here, the Wildfire.
Ooh, boy, howdy.
Believe it or not, they toned it down.
I've got some stories on that one,
We'll get into that. So what did your final score end up being?
8 1/4.
8.25. All right, mine ended up being 8 5/8.
Nice.
Just because it was 3 4 1/4 and a 4 1/2. So, what do you got here on the second nose?
Maple syrup and cereal grains.
Yeah, oatmeal, maple syrup.
Yep. This is
brown sugar.
Maple brown sugar oatmeal.
Yeah. And a fucking stout beer for breakfast. Like
maybe some chocolate nibs. I'm thinking about like Kellogg's makes a cereal that comes with like little shards of chocolate. There little chocolate nibs in there. That's kind of what I'm getting on this.
Cocoa nibs. Yep. That would be good.
Cornflakes and chop.
And so through the course of this episode, maybe you've seen or listened to us. Now you know what it means to be a barrel pick or a private stock selected bottle, because it's everything the original is and then some. It could be
well
it could be the same thing, just in one specific barrel, because they'll blend them. They'll take 150 different barrels, select the ones that they want, blend all of that together, and then bottle it. This way,
this is a single barrel.
It's just one barrel.
Yeah.
And this one just happened to be probably their original blend, like you said. I think we said that earlier. And then that was poured, funneled into a beer cask, and this is what it ended up with. And Total Wine got one of those casks.
Yep.
And this is how it turned out.
Good pick, Tanner.
It's very good pick. Very good pick. Cheers to you, sir. Very, very tasty.
Yeah. And the farther that we go down this rabbit hole,
the Rieger rabbit hole.
Yeah, because there is no bottom of this.
Right.
Whiskey just seems to keep going and going.
Yes.
But yeah, the farther into this we get, the more I enjoy and appreciate store picks, because it's kind of a 2-for-1 kind of a deal. Mm-hmm. You're getting a bottle that was selected as having the better taste and profile of the other ones that were offered, and it ends up being a single barrel. Because
it's a single barrel.
Because with it being a store pick, they're bottling up the contents of just that
Which
barrel.
Doesn't always mean barrel proof, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's a wild world we live in, and it just gets wilder the more you scratch at the surface.
Yep.
So if you liked what we did, definitely hit subscribe, share it with some of your whiskey enthusiast friends. We are whiskey enthusiasts. We don't call ourselves aficionados or experts. We're definitely not beginners, not anymore. Sometimes the pinkies go up because it's just
They do.
because it's just that damn tasty. But for the most part, we drink it as is. We drink it neat because we want to experience it the way the good barrel intended it to be.
I like that.
Experienced.
Good barrel.
And we always encourage you to drink with friends and family because whiskey's meant to be shared. It's not meant to be locked in a bottle, in a shelf, in a cabinet, and passed down generation to generation. No, the hell with that. No, you
Crack that shit open and
crack it open, share it because you're
pour a
alive.
couple.
You're alive now. It's time to share good times with good people, good spirits with good friends.
Yes, sir.
So no matter who you are, what you're drinking, where you're drinking it, and who you're drinking it with, never forget.
Keep on burning.